I just watched season 4, episode 1 of 90 Day Fiancé the other way so that you don't have to, because let's be honest, you got better things to do. The episode opens up with an epic trailer of the NPCs all yelling at each other. About 2 minutes into this episode, we see a town that looks like Smallville. Love that show. We then take a gander at a woman who appears to be dressed up like a pixie, wearing a rhinestone bottle cap headband on some spiritual weirdness. Cutscene over to the same girl on a swing. Her name is Kris. She's from Haleyville, Alabama, and she's 40 years old.
40 going on 20. Because that's how I feel.
Kris then shows us her onesie collection. She admits that her favorite one is the unicorn skin, and I think of Fortnite. She goes on to provide more information about where she grew up. I guess Haleyville is a small town of 3,000 people and is considered the Bible Belt. It's probably like that town from Footloose where they outlawed dancing. I can never live in a town like this because one, I like to dance, and also I like good food. She's doing a onesie try-on haul while at the same time telling us more about her town. I guess that they're very conservative when it comes to matters of religion, and if you don't fit in with the other like-minded church folk, they will shun you. Kris says that she likes to dress up in costumes in order to feel more like herself, which doesn't make much sense to me. Like if I wore a costume of Freddy Krueger, I would be Freddy Krueger. In a roundabout way, she's just trying to communicate to the audience that she feels like a black swan in this town. This reminds me of when we were kids and we would listen to that song Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson, and we would all dream about leaving our town and making a big name for ourselves. Kris has 2 children. She was married twice, but she admits that both relationships didn't last long. So for a number of years, she was a single mother raising her children all by herself. She primarily just focused on her kids and work, and then once her son finally graduated high school, she wanted to start looking for a love connection.
Clicked on it and have a soulmate.
In typical 90 Day fashion, Kris went on an international dating site where she claimed she met the love of her life. Let's talk about the yellow dress with the pink hair bow. What do we think about this? I hate to be the fashion police, but a lot of people watch this show. You might want to think more about the loadouts, but who am I to talk? I look like I drew this on with crayon. This is Kris's internet girlfriend. Her name is Jeymi, and she's from Venezuela, but right now she's living in Bogota, Colombia. Kris admits that she's always been more attracted to women. However, because she lived in this conservative town and a lot of people were judgmental, she felt like she could never pursue a relationship with a woman. She admits to the audience that when she wanted to hook up with a woman, she would drive an hour and a half to Birmingham and go to a gay bar. She adds that over the years she's had a couple relationships with women, but she was never comfortable being intimate with them or expressive in public. It's really sad that throughout this girl's entire life, other people made her feel like she was wrong for being attracted to the same sex. So I'm happy that she's finally more confident and starting up a relationship with a woman, but maybe just move to Birmingham and not Colombia. Let me know what y'all think in the comments about this, but this girl has never been out of the closet really, and she isn't really comfortable or confident in her own skin yet. So I feel like it would be more beneficial for her to move to Birmingham and go and make a lot of friends, make a lot of gay friends, go to the bars, go to the clubs, and really get a better sense of who you are and who you want to embody before entering this online relationship and uprooting your life to move to another country. So dudes, before we continue reviewing this trash TV show, I'd like to tell you about today's video sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. It makes cooking at home fun, easy, and most of all, affordable. All the ingredients come pre-cut and measured, so you don't have to waste any ingredients while you're cooking your delicious meals. Also, there are multiple options: high calorie, low calorie, vegan. Whatever diet you're currently on, HelloFresh will make your life significantly easier. Take moi, for example. I am a horrible chef. However, HelloFresh makes cooking so easy because each meal that you prepare comes with a step-by-step instruction sheet informing you how to prepare each dish. For example, the other day I prepared the pork and zucchini bibimbap bowl and it came out scrumdiddlyumptious. The instructions were so easy to follow. Usually I order the family size box because I'm a growing boy and big dogs gotta eat. HelloFresh is also perfect for date night. Your date's gonna be like, oh my god, I didn't realize you were a 5-star chef. If y'all are interested in getting started with HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com and use code WetSock65 for 65% off plus free shipping. That's a great deal, my guys. Now let's get back to our featured program. Kris says to the audience that she's been miserable for years and now she's finally happy and she wouldn't trade this feeling for anything in the world. She walks out to the shed, mentions that she's gonna have a yard sale, and then tells us more information about her relationship with Jeymi. I guess they've been together for a year, but they've only ever talked on the phone. She then confirms what we said earlier. She's gearing up to move to Bogota, Colombia to live with her online girlfriend. Right now, Kris is living at her mother's house with her 2 children. She doesn't seem like she's in the best financial position to be moving to another country when she doesn't speak the language and she doesn't know what she's gonna do for work over there.
I have tons and tons of cake pans. Calling Mr. Beefcake.
Kris's daughter's name is Star with 2 R's and she lets hella sing. Kris goes on to inform the audience that she got pregnant at 16, the first time that she had an intimate relationship. Right away, this girl seems like the kind of person that has made bad and irresponsible decisions her entire life. I think that she romanticizes this online relationship so much because it's the first time that she could really be herself. It's high-key dangerous to play this kind of game with someone in a foreign country that you don't know. They're being filmed, so I'm sure that nothing malicious is gonna happen. But for someone that is not being filmed, like this is how you get sex trafficked or get your organs stolen. And her son's name is Dane. He's 18 years old. Everyone in this family has unique names.
Blade, laser, blazer.
How many days is it between when you actually arrive and when you get married?
9 days.
This girl is an absolute troll. How does she know that this girl isn't using her for a green card in 9 days? Kris goes on to say confidently with a smile on her face, even though Jeymi and I have never met in real life, we're gonna get married in 9 days in Colombia. Y'all imagine only knowing someone for 9 days in real life before promising before God, family, friends to spend the rest of your life with them. Reality TV people are crazy.
I know in my heart that I want to have her by my side.
I'm happy though that Kris at least waited until her son graduated high school to pursue this projected love interest. That's more than Memphis did. She goes on to say to the audience that her and Jeymi want to get married right away and she's not nervous about it. Why do you think that this girl wanted to get married to you right away? You got to ask yourself these questions. You got to be more cynical. Huge red flag that this girl in Colombia communicated to Kris that she was rushed to the hospital and almost died because of COVID. When I had Roan Dog, I only had a runny nose for about 2 days. I understand that it hits everybody differently, but the story seems sus to me. Kris then starts tearing up when she's describing how the love of her life was in the hospital, but she provides no pictures of her being in the hospital. It is very possible that Jeymi lied about being in the hospital with Rona in order to make Kris's feelings for her more intense. When a traumatic event occurs to this person that is in the hospital on death's door and you're not sure whether they're gonna live or die, your feelings for them are going to be amplified. And as messed up as this is a tactic used by manipulators all the time. Kris even goes on to say, I almost lost her once, I'm not gonna risk losing her again. Exactly proves my point. This girl in Colombia could easily be talking to multiple women on the website. For all we know, she could have a boyfriend and she could not actually be gay. I got a good feeling that this segment right here is going to be an absolute shit show. Now let's take a look at the next NPC. We see some dirty stink butt realistic shots of NYC, and we see Danielle, who is in a relationship with Johan from the Dominican Republic. She is 42 years old. He is 32 years old. Danielle worked as a teacher in New York City for a number of years. She went on vacation to Dominican Republic a couple years back where she met Johan. He was working as a personal trainer at the hotel she was staying at. From the minute she saw him at the lobby, she said, that's going to be my husband right there. Physically speaking, Johan is built. He's 6'5", covered in muscles. The problem with Johan is that he expects this woman to pay for his entire life, and he treats her like a sugar mama, and she gets irritated about that because she wants him to also pay for things. He also wants Danielle to put him on scholarship and bring him to the United States so that he can earn a higher wage and send a lot of money back to his family, because his family's really poor in Dominican Republic, and he feels like he wants to do right by his wife, but also he wants to do right by his family. The problem with this is that Danielle actually wants to move from New York City to Dominican Republic. So they both want to live in different places. They were on the show Love in Paradise. I made a video about them. If you watch this couple, it's very obvious that Johan has been sending other girls when Danielle leaves Dominican Republic. So there were so many red flags about this dude, but she still decided to marry him despite that because she was so like physically infatuated with him. Danielle's a huge hypocrite because she's one of those people that's like so spiritual and spiritually woke, but she prioritizes someone just based off their physical appearance. Majority of fans feel like their relationship is very surface level and it won't last, but Danielle is still planning a trip to go back to Dominican Republic to be with her man, and we get to get a feast for the eyes of the fans because I'm sure that they're gonna have a lot of drama and fights. She will often say Johan, and he admits that at first he thought that she was a witch. Next we meet an Indian guy named Rishi. His name means an accomplished or enlightened person, and he certainly seems enlightened when it comes to taking care of his own hair. He admits that he spends an hour and a half on his hair every other day. A lot of people pay him compliments saying that he looks like the Indian Jesus. He adds that he's very proud of his flow because he's the only guy in his city with long curly hair. That's kind of flex. It's always good to be different. I guess the majority of dudes in Chapar, India are not rocking long hair. Rishi's a 32-year-old personal trainer. He goes into a Zoolander monologue and says, "There's a stigma in the fitness industry. People think we are just about our looks and not our brains." While he's saying this, he's showing pictures flexing on us, which makes it funnier to be honest. He then informs us that he has a law degree and a master's degree in addition to being really ridiculously good looking. Rishi adds that when he got his law degree, he started working in the corporate sector. However, he felt like he was in a cage. And so he quit his job in the corporate sector and shifted into his fitness career. Honestly, super relatable. I used to be a real estate agent and I had a remodeling company before I shifted into making YouTube videos. I think majority of people can relate. A lot of people change careers throughout their life. My only advice if you're making a career shift is to have enough money in your bank account to live off of for about 1 or 2 years before you make the shift. And the reasoning for that is the added stress of money will really zap your energy and it will shift your focus into chasing money and not leveling up your skill set in order to attract the money effortlessly. You're the only unique you. You have God-given ability and talent, and you can monetize your talent, especially with the internet. There's so many different ways to make money these days. You just have to go about it in a smart way. He proceeds to show us some of his modeling photos and says, "Male modeling wasn't my dream. People pushed me into it because they thought I was ridiculously good looking." Really?
ridiculously good looking.
Producers then asked Rishi to pose, and man is feeling himself. Yas, get into it. We still gotta see how he treats his woman in a relationship setting, but first impression wise, he seems chill. Something I like about him is his confidence, and we have a similar mindset in terms of attracting what we want by leveling up skills and masteries. Rishi says by not chasing women, doing the self-work, and allowing the right person to enter his life, that's how he met his fiancée Jen. Jen's 46 years old from Oklahoma, and she lives on her family farm. Right away, we see her putting in that good work on the farm, which is so respectable. Nothing says America like working on the farm. Ella, you might want to take notes. Get off those Asian men dating sites and start working on your family farm and save up your coin. Hey Ella, less bleach cosplay in the front yard and more worky. Anyways, Jen says that she met Rishi when she went to India on a solo trip, which I wouldn't advise any woman to go anywhere on a solo trip. Seems like a very dangerous time to be doing that. Interestingly enough, when this couple first met, Rishi was doing modeling job at the hotel that she was staying at. He showed Jen some pictures of him modeling, and right away she was like, hard pass.
I was not interested in him at all. I thought he was kind of a douchebag, for lack of a better way to say it.
Right away, I respect the fact that she didn't feed his ego and she was turned off by that. If it was Stan or any other desperate woman we've seen on the show, they would be like, oh my God, you're a model? Her thinking that he was cringe and seemed like a douchebag makes her seem like more of a grounded human being. She goes on to say that it's hard for her to pinpoint what exactly made her fall for Rishi, but she just knew that he was the one. Now I'm right back to being skeptical, because usually off the top of your head, there's certain qualities or values that you could point out about this person which would explain why you love them or why you care about them to a certain level. I love the way they make me feel safe. We have the same morals and values. I love their laugh. I love their smile. I love their eyes. Like, there's things that you can pinpoint, right? So for her to just not even say anything like that, suspicious. After a month of these two knowing each other and going on dates in India, Rishi proposed to her and she said yes. She says to the audience that even though her and Rishi didn't know each other for a long time, it just seemed right. When I see photos of them together, they look like a cute couple, but they definitely rushed this engagement. I'm looking forward to seeing how they interact in real life anyways. So she comes back to America, and then she was planning on moving to India to stay with Rishi and figure this out. However, COVID happened, so they haven't seen each other in about a year.
After waiting 2 years for the border to open, I'm finally moving to India in 1 week.
Jen's hype right now because she hasn't seen Rishi in over a year, and she's finally gonna go live with him in India. However, her brother is very skeptical because she's made a lot of hasty decisions in her past relationships. Jen and her brother then talk about a time period where it was hard for her to get into contact with Rishi, which makes sense because this dude's working and then also lives on the other side of the world. Trust is really important in a relationship, especially when you're doing long distance with someone. Rishi's a good looking, educated dude, so I have no doubt in my mind that he could pull any girl he wanted to. However, we don't know enough about his morals and values to determine what kind of man he is. Jen proceeds to take accountability for the fact that she was mad, insecure, and fearful that he would cheat on her, especially during the early stages of their relationship.
If he didn't call me like at a certain time, I've thought the relationship is over, and I've sent him a couple videos.
You gotta realize that neediness is a reaction to an emotion that you have within yourself. Jen's biggest fear seems to be, what if Rishi cheats on me? If you're constantly thinking about the worst possible outcome, you're gonna put yourself through that pain twice, and it hasn't even happened yet. And I say yet, but it's very possible that it would never happen because we don't know this guy's character. He could be a high value man. The whole point being that negative way of thinking will put you in a bad headspace and will constantly make you act on emotion, which will cause you to look foolish. But before I say anything else, let's see the video message that she sent to Rishi.
I'd love to be wrong about this, but I just have a feeling. I have a feeling that you're distancing yourself and that maybe you're not all in. I'll always love you.
Whoa, so many red flags we gotta talk about right now. This right here is chef's kiss. It is absolutely a recipe to get broken up with, ghosted, and blocked. Jen, look at me. I'm gonna let you in on a secret. You are needy because you want this man's approval and validation, and that's something that you need to give yourself. You have to remember that for the majority of Indian men, they support their entire families. I don't know this man's family dynamic. However, what I do know is that he's very on top of his shit in terms of career, where he wants to go, what his goals are. It is not his responsibility to give you the validation that you desperately want in every relationship you enter. It is not his responsibility to constantly be there for you every moment of the day, making you feel better about yourself. If you want someone that's on top of his shit, very motivated, very ambitious, and lives on the other side of the world in India, then you have to understand that that long distance relationship comes with sacrifices. One of which is that you're on different time zones, you both are working, there's gonna be a lot of days where you don't talk.
But I can let go because I have to love myself, and I don't like feeling like I'm chasing you.
I'm actually surprised he didn't break up with you. And if anything, that's more of a red flag, because for any man, imagine that you have a hard work week, you're overwhelmed, maybe you had a friend's birthday, maybe you took time out of your work week to prioritize different things you got going on. All of a sudden you see this video from your girl and you're like, wow, that's an immature response. Because of her neediness, she wants to take more of my time. To be fair, if it's days of no contact, that's a completely different story. From the way she's speaking about this, it seems like it's just a couple hours throughout the day.
He didn't ghost me or anything, but the contact wasn't as consistent as it was.
Nothing is more unattractive to a man like this than someone that he perceives is trying to detour him from where he's meant to be. For her to casually throw out something like, I'll never love another person like this, or I've never loved anyone like this, is so troll, because she couldn't name one thing that she loved about this man. She hit us with that, well, when you know, you know, after a couple of days of hanging out with him. Fuck off. Now I understand that her brother has every reason to be concerned about his sister moving to India. She seems like a hopeless romantic to me, and someone that really projects their desires onto whoever they're in a relationship with. Needy energy is a natural repellent for both men and women. It shows a lack of maturity, and rightfully so, because why would you want to enter a relationship with someone that can't be alone? When Hinata finally locked down Naruto, did she hit him with a you can't be Hokage because you have to stay home and you have to validate me and my feelings and pay attention to me all day? No, she didn't. You know why? Because she recognized that the love of her life has had a dream of being Hokage since he was a little kid, and he has something to prove. It's like Gladiator, what we do in life echoes in eternity. Some people can't sleep at night because they got so many dreams, big ones. This man wants to be the Indian Zoolander, let him cook. How crazy is it that she admitted to sending him multiple video messages? So if this is the most tame one, huge red flag. I'm just doing the math on why he's still in this relationship with her, and it might be to just get the social media boost from being on the show because he is a model.
We met and I spent like roughly around 45 days with him. And
2 months, is that what we're talking about?
yeah, a little less than
man.
2 months.
It just seems like a lot of risk to go to another country.
The brother's making some really good points. Isn't it funny how we all heard 45 days and we're like, wow, that's a long time actually, because usually for these shows, like they haven't even met each other in real life yet. So 45 days for us is like, huh, that's an entire lifetime. This couple's covered in red flags though, because think about it. She spent 45 days with this man and she can't name one reason why she loves him. When I see couples like this, I'm looking around for Ashton Kutcher because I feel like we're getting punked. Jen then taps into her Eeyore energy and says, what if this doesn't work out and what if it fails? Well, at least you're getting monetized for this. Like everyone that goes on the show gets a social media come up and then rips cameos and makes a lot of money. So it's like, at least this mistake is getting monetized, whereas the other ones weren't. Also, mistakes and failure are totally fine as long as you learn from the mistakes. When you don't learn from the mistakes and you constantly live in your ego, you become a creature like Big Ed. The next dude we meet was pouring what I thought was milk, and then he said, we're making a lot of penises today. And I was just like, so it's not milk? This is Gabriel. He's 32 years old from Margate, Florida. In his intro snippet, he brushes off his shoulder. Seems vibey so far. Gabriel created a brand called Get More Proudwear, which is underwear for male-to-male transgender people who have not had their bottom surgery yet. Basically, these underwear have a bulge in them, so people will think that you have a cock even if you don't. I'm kind of torn about this. I'd love to know your thoughts below. On one end, it's false advertising, and on another end, I want people to feel confident and good about themselves. When he's talking about this, you can tell that he's really passionate about what he does, but I'm wondering if he's trans because this seems like a really good idea, but one of those ideas that you really wouldn't think about unless you've gone through the same experience.
I came up with the idea for my business because Packers fall out your pants.
This job actually seems so fun. This man just makes dick underpants all day. Gabriel then tells a story about how when he was swimming and a sock that he put in his pants came out and was just floating, and he just kept swimming and was like, it's not mine, haha. So I think that's confirmation that Gabriel used to be a girl who transitioned to a guy. Gabriel says to the audience that he gets hella messages from people saying that his underpants make them feel more confident, and I see why, because that shit looks legit.
About a year ago, I went to Colombia to look for a new supplier.
Oh shit, we know where this is going, y'all. Bring out the Tusi, the reggaeton, and the Latinas. My boy Gabriel just got a new dick. He's ready to turn up to Colombia. Let's go. Remember that old song, My Dick? That shit was so funny, but my favorite line from it was, my dick, M16, yo dick, broken vending machine. Anyways, while Gabriel was looking in Colombia for someone to sew his underpants, he met Isabel. When describing Isabel, Gabriel says, damn, she's fine. She's so beautiful, my heart's melting. They look mad cute together. We got better looking cast members this season. Usually the cast members look like something out of Monsters Inc. Gabriel goes on to say that they had an instant connection and it felt like their hearts were attached by an invisible string.
We was kissing, we was dancing, we was hugging. It was a great night. And Isabel told me that she doesn't have sex on the first night, which I was kind of relieved because she did not know that I was trans.
All's well that ends better. That's actually a really good look for Gabriel. She probably just assumed that he was a gentleman. Majority of dudes want to get it in on the first date, so that's a clean guy move. Next, we see Gabriel have a one-man pride parade, and he confirms what we originally thought. He is a girl that transitioned to become a man.
I'm trans. Once upon a time, I was a girl, and now I'm a whole man. A whole man, because I already got my surgery.
Hey, good for you, Gabriel. I feel like there's so much negativity in the world that you should live for you and just do what makes you happy every day. And if you feel happier, you know, this specific gender, that specific gender, do you. You know, it doesn't matter what everybody thinks. People are gonna talk shit about you regardless of whether you're doing well or doing bad anyway. Also, these dudes throwing out high fives are kings. I see a lot of good vibes right now. Gabriel then opens up with the audience and says that it's a very hard thing to be trans. It's not like you wake up one day and say, I'm trans. Gabriel says that once he found out that girls can wear boys' clothes, he started out with basketball shorts and wore that every day. Gabriel then adds that when he was 16, he came out as lesbian because he didn't know that he could change his gender. To be transparent with y'all, I don't know much about the psychology behind this particular topic. I have a lot of gay friends, but I've never had a trans friend. I just found a video titled The Science of Being Transgender featuring Gigi Gorgeous. I'm gonna link this video in my bio if you wanna check it out after this video. I just wanna make sure we're all educated and we're all leveling up. Gabriel says there isn't a rule about when specifically to tell someone that you're a transition person. I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel like honesty is respected, especially in this day and age where a lot of people wear a face. So if I was talking to a girl and she was trans, I would appreciate it if she told me from the beginning that we were talking. I think it's like a band-aid. You just gotta rip it off and be honest and transparent with people right off the bat, because if they don't love you for you, I feel like they're not a person that you should want in your life anyway. Gabriel decided to rip off the band-aid and tell Isabel that he's trans, and she responded that she doesn't care. She sees him as a man, which is so cool. A couple months after they met, he started renting an apartment in Medellin, Colombia, and she moved in, and he's planning on moving in with her and living there in Colombia. Next thing you know, after his one-man pride parade, he sees his friend Keon, and they meet to sit down and talk about his plans to go move to Colombia to marry his girl.
So what about like the family? You around? Any questions or anything like that?
Her mom and dad, they don't know.
That could be a huge problem just because a lot of the older generation is very religious. Knowing what we know about the majority of Latin American countries, like Kenny and Armando went through it in Mexico, so I could see this being a huge problem in Colombia as well. Gabriel goes on to explain that her parents really like him, but they don't know that he's trans, and he's really nervous about having that uncomfortable conversation with them because he doesn't want to lie to them.
Do I tell him I'm trans first, or do I ask him to marry his daughter?
So I think you absolutely tell the father that you're trans before asking permission to marry his daughter.
No, let him know before. He's giving you his blessings to marry his child. So let him know, listen, this is what I got going on with me. You know what I'm saying? I want you to still accept me as who I am.
You know what I like about this present season of The Other Way is that there's better friends on the show. These seem like more authentic friends that are giving really sound advice. The past couple videos have all been about little Edward and Liz and their dog water friends and their unauthentic selves. So when I see like actually good friends giving sound advice, I just like have stars in my eyes. Gabriel and his friends seem super nice. I'm rooting for him, and I hope that her parents accept him for who he is. The next cast member we see is Jeymi. She's 30 years old from Venezuela, but currently living in Bogota, Colombia. She left Venezuela because despite the country being rich in oil, due to political mismanagement, the country is very poor. She didn't word it like that, but I Googled it because I was mad interested in like why Venezuela was the way it is, and I found a lot of interesting articles. Jeymi says to the audience that she's had boyfriends in the past, but their dicks hurt her, she never had orgasms, and it wasn't passionate. Girl in a roundabout way said, men ain't shit, I'm changing teams.
I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, stop it. No need to apologize, Jeymi. The problem was that the men you were getting with weren't Yourwetsock subscribers. Yourwetsock men are genetically constructed differently, insanely emotionally intelligent, eat the box like... Alright, I'm done gassing y'all up. Let's continue this review. She saw a therapist, and after speaking with the therapist, she confirmed that she is a lesbian. She's very into girls. Her friends all accepted her, but she hasn't told her parents yet. The reason why she hasn't told her parents is because they're very conservative, so she assumes that they wouldn't think that it's normal. She tells the audience she's never been in a relationship with a girl, so her friends advised her to get on the internet because internet dating is where it's at, and that's where she met Kris. Her first impression of Kris was, wow, she's pretty, I like it.
After 1 month talking online, Kris said, I want to marry you.
Clap it up for Kris. That's a red flag, telling someone that you want to marry them before even meeting them in real life. It's also a red flag for this girl to accept, but let's see what she has to say for herself.
This is my answer, and say, very surprised for me is, really? Say, really? And say, yes.
This girl seems nice so far, but I think there's a lot she's not telling us. Kris seems like an easy target. She's never been in a real relationship with a girl before. She's still very new to this, and she seems like the kind of person that would easily get taken advantage of. Jeymi then Zoom calls her friends to see what they think about Kris moving to Colombia with her.
Diciéndome todo lo que estaba haciendo Kris, porque se perdía, cuando se empezaba a perder un día.
Interesting, so I guess Kris disappeared for 20 days and then reappeared on Jeymi's birthday to wish her happy birthday, which is pretty sus. That's a long time to go radio silent on someone. Kris's excuse for going no contact is that she had a lot of problems, but she wasn't specific about what those problems were. All of a sudden, we're throwing a curveball because the friends start talking about another girl from Texas. Jeymi says she started talking to another girl from Texas because around this time her grandmother passed away and Kris was gone. Like, Kris was not talking to her. She tried to reach out and she didn't hit her back for about 20 days. So around this time, she wanted to talk to someone, so she went back on the dating sites to enter this relationship with this girl from Texas. What I'm gathering from the situation is that Jeymi felt alone and she started talking to this girl from Texas, and then when Kris came back into her life, she dropped the girl from Texas. I think there's more to the story that this girl's not telling us. I would love to see the messages that she sent to the girl from Texas. I feel like there's so much distrust in the world and cheating stuff on TikTok that I think it's perfectly reasonable to assume that Kris moved on to another girl when she ghosted this girl for 20 days. If you're in a committed relationship with someone and you want to go radio silent for about 3 weeks, you should communicate beforehand and say, hey, I'm going to take this time to clear my head. I'm going through a lot of stuff. I think that there's a lot more to the story that's not being said so far. The last thing we see Jeymi say is that she wants to marry Kris. She's 100% invested in their relationship and knows that this is the person that she wants to spend the rest of her life with. Cutscene over to Kris. She opens up with the audience about the fact that she bought her dream house 6 years ago, but only 2 years later, it burnt down in a fire. She had majority, if not all of her money invested in this property, so she communicates to the audience that she lost everything. This house is really cool. It's about 3 apartments all attached. Kris communicates to the audience that right now she's trying to fix up the property in order to rent it out to tenants and get more income for her and her family. This relationship with Jeymi is distracting you from reaching your financial goals. Get a grip, get your priorities straight, especially because you have children. Wouldn't you like to leave them behind some bread? I have a background in construction. You have to be on site.
So, darling, what you trying to do or get done before you have to leave?
Oh, I'm not gonna be able to get this whole apartment ready before. I'm trying to get as much done as I can.
When the cat's away, the mice play. That's the saying. So how about this? Do us all a favor. Download Tinder. Stop chasing someone on the fucking internet that lives in Colombia. If you're not making income and your money is tied up in properties, why the fuck are you moving to Colombia, dummy? It seems to me like Kris is prioritizing her partner's wants and needs over her, which is idiotic when her partner is someone that lives in Colombia that she hasn't even met in real life yet. Kris's mother communicates to the audience that she doesn't agree with her daughter's decision. The mother admits that she's a devout member of the church, and although she doesn't agree with her daughter's decision to love other women, she does not believe that it is her place to judge her daughter. She believes that it is God's place. So to be honest, from a religious person's perspective, I think that that is the best you're gonna get. She is not outright telling her daughter that she's wrong. She's not making her feel bad for loving who she loves. She is communicating her stance and what she believes in a respectful way, which is admirable. I respect that. I don't respect the religious zealots that send their kids to gay conversion therapy. Those people are fucked up. We then learn that Kris has narcolepsy, which is a sleeping disorder.
My brain doesn't know when it's nighttime and daytime and when you're supposed to sleep and when you're not.
An easy way to think about someone that has narcolepsy, it's almost like you're in a constant state of in between sleep and awake. Doesn't matter how much sleep you get at night, if you have narcolepsy, you're gonna be feeling sleepy throughout the day. Another side effect that can occur is sleep paralysis, which is basically if you're falling asleep or waking up, you can't move. But I've heard hands down the most annoying thing about narcolepsy is fragmented sleep. You know how when we fall asleep, we wake up the next morning? For someone with this neurological disorder, it's very possible that they wake up 10 to 20 times every night, which, let's be honest, it's annoying as fuck. For the majority of us, when we wake up in the middle of the night, we have a really hard time falling back asleep. So imagine doing that like 20 times. Next thing you know, Kris starts talking about the other woman in Texas that Jeymi was messaging, and the tea is piping hot, y'all. I have a question. I met Jeymi on the dating app. We started talking end of June. She asked me to be her girlfriend. I looked her up on Facebook and I see she just posted she was in a relationship with you. Just wondering what's the deal with that. I do have proof to back up what I'm saying. Well, Jeymi, you left that part out. Right away, my takeaway from this is that Jeymi is an untrustworthy individual because she omitted valuable information from the story in order to make herself seem more trustworthy to the audience. Forget about the creatures in these relationships. We have been burnt too many times as the fans of the show, especially with Muhammad and Eve. Kris then asked the woman to show her the screenshot so that she could better understand the situation. She then tells the audience that the woman from Texas told her that Jeymi is just using her for her money. We then learn that when Jeymi was sick with Rona, Kris was paying her bills. Clap it up for Kris. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. guys, is you should never send money to someone in another country that you've never met in real life. Kris told Jeymi, you are a cheater and use people. Jeymi responded, it's a lie. Tell her to send you a picture of the conversation. Kris responded, I have plenty of pics. Angry emojis. What about the icing on the cake is this woman from Texas told Kris that Jeymi was actually working the entire time that she communicated to Kris that she had Rona. Yo, thanks for the extra sauce, El Gringo. Like I said earlier in the video, for all Kris knows, Jeymi could be doing this to 20 other girls and racking it up. Jeymi messaged her, I do not ask you to forgive me or forget it. I asked you to allow me to make amends for my mistake. I'm begging you. Make amends? I'd be like, all right, bet. Send me all the money I sent you back. If she's really sorry about lying to the girl that she's had this online relationship with for about a year, she'll send all the money back.
In my heart, I couldn't stand the thought of not being able to talk to her, not being able to see her, or anything like that.
You're tilting to watch because you're ignoring the biggest red flag. This woman lied to you in order to gain from you financially. She took advantage of your kind nature to get your money. That should be given to yourself and your family and your children. You gotta boss up. All the good advice that Kris's mom is trying to give her goes in one ear and out the other. This segment is going to be an absolute shit show. I'm so sorry that there wasn't more drama in this episode, y'all. This is the first episode, so they were setting a lot of things up, but I think episode 2 is gonna be more drama. Make sure to order a Cameo for me if you want some one-on-one time. I'm the #1 creator on Cameo. Super thankful for y'all watching my videos. Comment below, subscribe, love you, man, follow me on Twitch and on Instagram right now.